Welcome to Cruise Through HTX. My name is Freddy Cruz, and this is a podcast about the organizations, businesses, and individuals that make the greater Houston area great. One such individual is Julien Marion. You're going to find him on the web at julienmarion.org. He is a podcaster. He's a business coach, and he and his wife own the Move Dance Family Studio out in Fort Bend County. This episode is jam-packed with all kinds of nuggets of wisdom from Julien. We're going to talk about fatherhood, entrepreneurship, creating a supportive and non-judgmental environment for kids, how it's crucial for their growth and development, how entrepreneurship offers a level of freedom and the opportunity to compress time and minimize mistakes. And if you enjoy this episode as much as I did putting it together for you, please consider sharing with your family and friends and subscribing to the show wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, I'm Ed Sheeran. This is Bruno Mars.
Hey, it's Katy Perry.
This is your man Flo Rida with Freddy Cruz.
This is AJ Mitchell with Freddy Cruz.
Freddy Cruz.
Freddy Cruz.
Let you go pick Mr. 305 and you already know what it is.
My name is Freddy, and it's time to cruise through HTX. Julien, I have a feeling this is going to be like one big dad therapy session.
Right? Who knows, man? I have 6 kids. I've been around the block.
Oh, man. You got me beat by 4. But, my kids have probably got your kids beat because they're 18 and 19. I think you've got little ones. Is that correct?
Yeah, my oldest is turning 14. So starting in 2010 all the way down to 2022. So 2010, 2012, 14, 16, 18, and 2022. Then I retired last year, Father's Day weekend. I said, I think I fulfilled my mission of, multiplying. I think I did it. I'm in 2 hands. We're good.
Yeah, well, that's quite the age range, 14 to toddler age. But you can hire. It's almost like you can hire the older kids to babysit, I guess. How does that work in the house when mom and dad are busy running the studio, the dance studio empire? Yeah.
So the funny thing is, my wife just came back. She came back Sunday, so she was gone for 2 weeks, right? So she left for 2 weeks for Costa Rica. She had to finish like a leadership thing she was doing, and she stayed to teach over there. And so I stayed home with 6 kids, with everything else, with the coaching, with the my still regimen of live and podcast interviews and all that kind of stuff. And many people were like, how in the world, did you do with 6 kids, to manage the school drop off, school pickup, breakfast, get dressed, come back from school, activities, it just feels like so much. But I think we've normalized that level of, of energy that is required and intensity and discipline. And like you said, chores, who does what, and now I have 2 that are homeschooled. But they're kind of like private school homeschool. It's kind of, you go online and you follow your coursework, and it allows them to actually, my oldest, to actually go and start to look at what he doesn't want to do. What does entrepreneurship look like? What does basketball look like? Versus being stuck inside of the school system for so long, And so, it's a different world being an entrepreneur and living in Texas and being able to decide if you want to homeschool some kids and give them a different way to see life.
How are your kids when the ones that are homeschooled, how do they respond to mom and dad's life as entrepreneurs? Because I imagine it's different from someone who's got mom and dad who work the quote unquote 9 to 5, because your schedule is all over the place.
Yeah, I think there's a level of freedom. There's a level of freedom for them to understand this world that we live in, right? Which is, I think at some point, are we rich? Because we're kind of inside, we're in Brookshire right now and stuff. And it's you have land and stuff. And are we rich? Because our life is very different, and I'm well, we're not rich. Because some people, we can be considerate to others, we're just not, there are levels to this.
We're not Bezos rich.
Yeah, there's many levels, especially in Texas. Yeah. There's many levels, If I had 2 kids, maybe I could be considered rich. But with 6 kids, I'm just about normal, and I think it's just the level of freedom of time, how we can actually decide to do things very differently than maybe somebody that has a 9 to 5. And so for them, especially the one that are home, it's clicking that, wow, I thought life was this way, but actually life can be this way, And I love it because it shows this place of limitless. You can write books, you can record online, you can coach people, you can have a podcast, you can, like there's this level of freedom that you have instead of entrepreneurship and living in the US that for them, they're getting exposed to at a high level and start to see like, wow, I don't just have to go to school. Like there's actually this and this and this.
This episode of Cruise Through HTX is brought to you by my media company, Speak Podcasting on the web at spekepodcasting.com. In our first course of 2024, it's PodQuest, Cracking the Code to Creating a Binge-Worthy Show, and we are taking it live to Comic Palooza. Mark your calendar for May 24th. That is a Friday night, 8 p.m. at the George R. Brown Convention Center. We're going to be hosting a live workshop for aspiring podcasters and podcasters who are maybe struggling with their show's focus and want to relaunch with a more clear, concise plan of action. That is PodQuest, Cracking the Code to Creating a Binge-Worthy Show live at Comic Palooza Friday night, May 24th at the George R. Brown Convention Center. And it's all like a game. And to me, it's owning a business is a lot like losing a lot and being okay with it, because each different loss, it's almost like a video game when you're trying to beat the level and then you keep losing and it sucks at first. But then after about 7 times of beating the boss of, I don't know, let's just say Donkey Kong, I might be aging myself, but Donkey Kong, and you get to a certain level and you're like, okay, that doesn't suck nearly as bad as the first time because now I know what I need to do. And so then you beat the level and then you get to the next one. You're like, all right, well, I know this is going to suck because I'm going to lose. I'm going to get kicked in the teeth, but I'm expecting to lose at least a few more times before I finally get the next win. And that next win might be a client or a partnership or some kind of agreement with a large company.
Yeah. And I think you're exactly on it, which is this place of like, if you can compare it to like the gamification of it, right? It becomes this place of understanding that there's a cycle. And for every, for gamers, for example, like you understand that there's a level up. You understand there's reps needed. And then you understand that there's a guide that has to come in at some point.
Yeah.
For the new skill set, because it's kind of like this map of like, everything is black. I'm gonna go real old school here. Zelda. Zelda. He's there and it's like, everything is black. And as you're walking, it's like, oh, there's here. Oh, there's there. Oh, there. But somebody can tell you like, hey, Freddie, if you actually go way to the edge and then turn right all the way to the right, there's actually a new weapon, Right. And I think that's the world of entrepreneurship that you understand. It's just like, man, people have gone through what I've gone through before. Like, I just have an option to compress time. Yes, it's going to cost me an investment of time, an investment of money, but I can compress how long it takes me to go here and minimize the mistake that I can make, because in entrepreneurship, there are legit mistakes.
Yeah.
Like your runway is this much, and for some it's even smaller, and then the line is thin. Like you can make bad mistakes and everybody is gone and you're like, well, I guess I got to go and find a job, And so there's the legit place of, once you understand that and you put that with gamification and you're like, okay, cool. So I have to find myself a guide, and there's things that I know, things I know I don't know, and things I don't even know exist. That's what I'm looking for.
It's funny you bring up the guide and I guess saving time in a certain way. And that's almost what a success with entrepreneurship is selling the destination to somebody else. And I use the S word, selling, as if it's, it's not selling, but it's really, it's serving somebody. It's like, hey, you need XYZ. I can help you get XYZ in whatever amount of time that they might be looking at that's going to be attractive to them, because nobody wants XYZ if they're going to get it in a year. But if you can cut down the time and compress it, I guess, in 30 days, and it's going to cost them half the price of doing whatever the old way, then they're all about it. And it's just finding the right people.
Absolutely. Because you've gone this, and I've had somebody that shared that with me. It's just like, I just feel like I'm not worthy. I don't feel like I'm enough to get it done. And I share, this is the whole imposter syndrome. And I share this story that really resonated with me whenever I was told, because it unlocked that imposter syndrome. And it goes like this. It's like, imagine a line with billions of people on it, and you're somewhere on this line, and you have people on your left and you have people on your right. And the people on your right, they want what you have, however small, however bad, however weak you think whatever you have is. They just want to be where you at. Some people just want a house. They've been renting their whole life. They're like, I just want a house. Some people's like, I just want a podcast. I've seen people do podcasts. Like, how the hell do I do a podcast? They just want it. However small your podcast is, they just want it, right? And so those people give you money to get to where you at. And then you have people on your left that are further along than you, and they want to help you move to where they at. Or there's pieces that you have that they don't have. Maybe it's like they have the money, but they don't quite have the relationship, right? I have that instead of like my coaching with men. It's like they have the money, but then they have to burn the relationship with their kids and their wife, and then they neglected their body, and now they feel it. And they're like, I just don't know how to buy it back. I just don't know how to pivot, and I feel ashamed that I sacrificed for so many years. And now the only relationship that I have with my kids is an authority relationship. It's not a confident, it's not a role model. It's just like, oh, here's dad enforcing the law, trying to give advice and lecture. I just don't feel like house is home. I just feel like there we go, having to rule again, having to be the judge.
What you're talking about reminds me of some article that I may or may not have seen on Inc.com a long time ago. It's, you can have 3 of these 5 things, not all 5 of them at the same time, though. It's sleep, health, time, family, and friendships. So pick 3. Pick 3. And so a lot of what you just talked about, especially with anyone that owns a business, and I know your podcast is focused on dad life and dads who are in this world and in the thick of it. I think that definitely applies to anybody, and it doesn't even have to be a parent. But man, you are so right about that. We give up so much to try and chase after the carrot. And so it's trying to figure out how to be in multiple places at once.
Yeah, it requires a level of discipline and intentionality. Oftentimes, like as a man, like you will have a target for business. You have a target. Most men have a target. You have a financial target, you have a career target, you have a specific target where you want to go, and you want to pursue it. You might have a body target, which is like how I want my body to be, right? I want to be in shape, I want to be lose weight, gain muscle, whatever that is. Like you have those 2. Rarely do you have a man that will have those 2 plus a relationship with his wife, target and goal, a relationship with his kid, target and goal, a relationship with God, target and goal. So like you have 4 targets that you're looking at and you're pursuing daily. That means all the actions are going there. So it's like all those, I call like the core 4, body, being, balance, and business, all 4 moving up at the same time, which is for some that just jump into this game, they understand like it's exhausting. I'm like, I get it. But otherwise, the game that you're playing is just like, oh, I'm focusing on business and hopefully I'm going to come back and then I'll be there with my wife. And then, oh no, business is going down. I'm focusing on business. Oh, my body is crap now. Let me try to go on this diet. And
it's a seesaw yo-yo kind of, yeah.
And then you burn out. And as an entrepreneur, like you've seen that during COVID. You've seen that heavily during COVID. Many pivots happen for people during COVID when they realize like, oh my God, like things are actually a lot worse than what I thought they were for me in my life, and then it's kind of like at some point, like the bill becomes due in your relationship, when your wife wants to have that conversation and then it's just like, hey, I don't feel connected. I think we need to separate. Or your kids don't want to talk to you, or they don't respect you. The last post I did, the last podcast was about power struggles, right? Because dads have that issue. And it's like, if your kids don't respect you or don't feel a connection, you come back and you have boys, it becomes this.
Yeah.
Right? The testosterone, the masculinity, and they're like, okay, what, dad?
Yeah. And that's a tough pill to swallow. And I got to tell you, man, because going to your latest episode, it's navigating power struggles with your children. It could be one of the most challenging aspects of parenting. And let me tell you something. I'd like to think that my 2 daughters respect me. And I know they do, because I can see it in the way they treat me. But at the end of the day, we're all perfectly imperfect humans. And we're all, I feel, as much as I don't like the word entitled, but I almost feel like we're entitled to have a bad day. It's okay to have a bad day. It's okay to have all the 10,000 emotions that we experience in any given day. I feel about 10,000 emotions on the road during Houston traffic, but that's neither here nor there. So it's as one of these imperfect people that's a dad. It's how do we respond when someone says something to us that is less than cool, and that's putting it lightly, you know? Like, did we flip
I think
out?
you're in that perfect place, especially with
Yeah.
two daughters. I run a studio with my wife, so like I have like many daughters and many moms. Like many age group. And the one thing that is interesting with the relationship with daughters is that as a dad, you are their first love.
Mm-hmm.
That's you.
Yeah.
You're the model. You're the model of what the ultimate version of the man that they're going to marry is. It's Freddie. Him, what he's doing, the way he's behaving, the freedom he has in life, inside of his body, inside of his calling, inside of the way he talks, like it's you. And the daughters have a bigger attachment to dads that they have to mom, right? Like whatever you the way I say it always is like whatever you don't transform in you, you're going to transfer it to your kids. And as a dad, you're going to transfer it more to your daughters than you're going to transfer it to your sons. Mom is going to be to the sons. You're going to say, so now imagine this. You're like, oh, wow. Like, what does that look like? What am I transferring to my daughter unintentionally because I'm trying to hide it?
Yeah, that's scary, man. That is really, really, really scary, the way you just phrased that, because I'm thinking about all of that right now. And it's as much as I wish they only inherited all the good things about me as a human. I know that there are going to be some things that they inherit that are less than cool, the negative self-talk, the self-doubt. And I think that's, if I could speak candidly, it's like, I really have to watch how I talk about myself in front of those closest to me, because you never know how they'll internalize it,
Because you're them.
Right. Because I'm them and they are me. I mean, I'm the dad. I'm the one, right?
Yeah, you are the one for them.
Yeah.
For them, you are the mirror. Whether they're saying it to you, that's why I told daughters all the time. I'm like, whether your daughters are telling you, whether they're telling you that that I love you, or they're showing it to you, you are the one for them. You are their first love.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever language you're going to have, whatever way you're going to hold your daughter, caress your daughter, kiss your daughter, take your daughter on a date night or date day. For me, I do date day because it's easier with 6 kids,
Yeah.
to do the date day.
Mm-hmm.
That is going to be the model. And in there, we can just open up and share and have those conversations. And my number one job as a dad is to heal me. If I can heal me, then my wife feels safe now to heal herself for all past trauma she might have. Once we are both healed, our kids are free.
That makes so much sense, dude. I love it. Let's shift the conversation to the dance studio. So you've got the coaching that you do with dads, and then you've got the dance studio that's out here. I'm in Richmond. You got the place that's over like a hop, skip, and a jump away on 723. You've been at this for quite some time. How you do it with 6 kids is beyond me. You don't look like you've aged at all. So let's talk about it, man.
Yeah, it is magical because people oftentimes joke around. We've been there since 2013. So if you live in that area, so you already know. If you look back at the Richmond, Bellaterra, Katy area, 2013 to 2024, like it used to be nothing,
Right?
and suddenly now there's like everything, and then more coming. Right? It's like it's a race to build. It feels like,
Yeah.
It's a race to build. And so people that have been there in the beginning and left and came back, it's like every time they came back, it's like there was a new kid. For us, it's like, oh, there's a new baby, there's a new baby, there's a new baby. You know, it's always been kind of like that place. But for us, the big thing with the studio was because we had a big family, we always felt like when you go to a place of business with kids, with a lot of kids, like you never always felt welcome. Like it felt like your kids were too noisy and people would look at you like, wow, he doesn't have shoes or whatever. So like we wanted to create a space where like, hey, you can bring the kids and it's going to be what it is. Shoes, no shoes, mismatched shoes. You're not going to feel this judgment that sometimes the suburbia life can give you of this, this perfection of like, you have to go to your extracurricular activities and everybody needs to look like put together and ready to go versus like,
right.
Hey, real life, just like we just left, they just started eating in the car. We don't know what the ballet shoes are, like I don't have it all together. And I'm like, and that's life. Like, That's what it is. We don't need to put a mask and act like we're perfect because that's just a lie. And we want to create that space that people can come in and feel like you don't have to put a mask and act like things are fine. And some people, like I've said, that's like, hey, when I came in, like, I don't know what it is. I just felt like something felt different, and so I was like, thank you, God. We love it.
Yeah. And it's amazing that you have been able to do this for more than 10 years, seeing as how, it's so hard for any small business owner to last more than a year or even 5 years. So it really speaks, you struck a chord with suburbia in our area for you to be able to sustain this kind of longevity,
Yeah. And I think it's people understanding when you care, like there's a level of like people understanding when you really care for their kids, you really care for them, and you're truly trying to be a beacon inside of your community. And again, like we could do it at a higher level to really be a beacon inside of our community. Like there's places where we could do more, but really being able to be there and consistently show up, especially during COVID, because you had a lot of people during COVID, it became very hard. And they were like, I just rather be done than to continue to show up in this capacity, because running a space, picture this, you're running a space that operates half of the day, that requires a big amount of space, that cannot be mixed levels in one, right? AKA Taekwondo, karate, like you can put mixed levels. It can be like open levels, one instructors. No, you can't do that in this. And the space has to be big enough. That means you can't just do it one room, single room, everybody in. It's like, no, you have to have a room. So you have to have at least 3,000 to 4,000 square feet. And you only operate half the day. And then you have to make it, and then you have to make it grow, and make everybody feeling, like the ratio is not too big. So I'm like, there's so many variables. So I've oftentimes said it's like, by the grace of God, we're still there. By the grace of God, we can continue to move. I'm like, I'm not that smart to say that we figured out the perfect formula. I'm like, there's a lot of grace inside of us being able to continue to perform at a high level there.
Y'all, he's like a modern day Renaissance man in Fort Bend County. You got to check him out. JulienMarion.org. Going to have links to his website and his podcast on the show notes page, so you can check him out there. His podcast is Inspiring Possibilities with Julien Marion, and his family's dance studio. It's all one word, movedanceandfitness.com. My man, it's a shame it's taken this long to connect, and we're doing so via Riverside. We got to connect in person, bro.
We're next to each other. You know what I mean? Like we need to connect face to face.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to be on the podcast, sir.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Freddie.